Welcome to the Progress Zone podcast, where we help you create real momentum in your mindset, business, health, and life. I'm your host, Jody Donaldson, and every week we'll explore the small, intentional steps that lead to big, lasting growth. This isn't about hype, it's about habits. So let's get started. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Progress Zone podcast. Today's guest is one of the most respected orthodontists in the country, not only for his clinical excellence, but for the way he leads, serves, and shows up for people. He is the editor-in-chief of the Journal of Clinical Orthodontics, a lecturer at Harvard School of Dental Medicine, the owner of Kravitz Orthodontics, and someone whose energy, generosity, and commitment to patient care has earned him most respect and admiration from many. Dr. Neal Kravitz, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. Huge honor.
Well, I appreciate you being here. I feel like I've known you over the last couple of years and just seeing how you've grown as a practice, as a person, as a leader in your community, in your medical field. And I just thought like it'd really be great to get you on here and just kind of talk through some of the things that make you tick and how it works and how you stay positive and keep growing. And so thanks for being here.
Of course.
Well, I know I shared a little bit just about your background, but for those that don't know you, could you just share a little bit about yourself and how your journey got started?
Yeah. So I grew up in this area. I grew up in Fairfax, Virginia, not too far from where I practice. I practice about 30 minutes from where I grew up. I went to undergraduate at Columbia and dental school at University of Pennsylvania. And I did my residency at Chicago, and then I came back to the East Coast, and I started my career working at a corporation. Corporate dentistry has become all the rage, and I have some thoughts on that. But I opened up my office right away while I was working there, and I've been in private practice for almost 20 years now. So keeping busy and loving every minute.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. Also, not only were you going to those Harvard, Ivy League, or those schools, Columbia and Penn, but you also played football, right?
Yeah, I was a place kicker at Columbia, very average place kicker. Hey,
but, it doesn't matter.
I had a great experience. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a big load to carry. So kudos to you for being able to pull all that off and do that. Did you always know you wanted to kind of go into the medical field or dental field?
My father's a dermatologist. He's been practicing, 40 plus years. I did not know I wanted to go into dentistry, but I think I was always going to go into dentistry. I have had a pretty interesting experience as a patient. I've spent a lot of time born with just a challenging bite and missing some teeth. So I really had some great experiences with my dentists. So I think maybe my sophomore year of college, I really kind of leaned into this and knew I was going to go into dentistry. And then I had no idea I was going to go into orthodontics. I don't think anybody likes their job more than I do. I really mean it. I really love what I do. And I was very lucky that everything kind of fell into place the way it did. So maybe my sophomore year of college, I made the decision to go into dentistry, only dentist in the family. But I really love it. And it is the perfect job for me.
Yeah. Well, you've done such an amazing job as you've grown your practice and your reputation is just outstanding. I also know that, you're known for your energy and intensity and your ability. You operate at this high level, which is just amazing every single day. Yeah. What do you believe is that internal engine that drives you?
Yeah. Listen, I like that you can't teach speed. I always tell people, even when I hire people, I can't be around people who are low energy. I'm very high energy. With that said, it's not anxious energy. It's just positive energy. But I'm getting things done. I'm very proactive. I like to get things done. I like to be busy, and I really do things that I love to do. So that is very real. I do not do things I do not want to do. And I'm in a career that I just really enjoy.
Yeah. That makes all the difference, right? Doing something you love, you're not escaping your life for vacations and things like that, because everything just feels good in the day to day. So
what vacations? What vacations?
Yeah. Well,
I work
exactly.
8 days a week.
I don't know how you fit anything in. I don't know, but did you realize early on, like, were you like this all the way in your younger years and in college and everything else, or like that you had this high gear and you could just function at a high level?
It built up as I got more confident. As a student, as I got more confident, even as a dental student, and then it really, I would say, a switch really hit maybe in my 20s, and I just really turned it up. Now, I will tell you, I actually turned it up maybe a little bit too much, and there was times when in my life where I just kind of lost focus. I was almost just working too much without kind of seeing the world around me. And actually, one of the reasons I love going back to Penn, University of Pennsylvania, my dental school, is I always tell the students, I'm like, no, I'm going to give out the answers to the test. I've waived my honorarium, so let me give out the answers to my test, and I want you to go on a date. I want you to go into the city. Now, I will tell you, if I was a student in that class, I would have pocketed those answers and just gone back to the library. But I think it was important for people to really enjoy life. And I think there were times when I just kind of hyper-focused at work, and that's fine. And everybody will say, listen, look at all the things that happened because of it. But I'm not someone who really believes in balance, but it was even too much where I was almost too focused at what I was doing. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, part of that focus has helped you build this amazing practice with a great team and a reputation for excellence. That takes something special too, not just as practicing your orthodontics, but also like molding people and building a team and getting that buy-in from your staff, because everybody's got that great high energy, great personality. But what truly makes a great practice in your eyes?
We're all in the same business. I think, for what you do and what I do, I've been with your family for 20 years. Small businesses are all the same. And I'm always talking, we talked a little bit about my recent journey into jiu-jitsu, but I'm very close with the owners or the coaches or professors who run those studios, because we're all kind of in the same business. We're all kind of doing this week to week where we're growing our practice. So no matter how much money you make, it's still really a week to week job, and you're dealing with so many expenses coming in and out of a business. So I always tell people in small business really love and admire other people in small business because we get the grind. But listen, you create the life that you want. And if you are having a problem with people in your office or your practice, or a scheduling issue, maybe the schedule is out of control or the schedule is controlling you, this is your problem. People, these are things that you have created, and you can fix them. So we make sure we have a positive culture. I will tell you, the problems happen when it's the person in charge is not like leading by example. So if I want a certain type of culture and I'm acting in opposite, if I want people to act professional, for example, but I am being inappropriate, we're going to have staff that are inappropriate. If I want them to work hard and be meticulous and be clean and look a certain way, but I don't do those things, then of course, that. So I think opposite. So I think ultimately, I embody the things that I want from work, and I hope people sense that, and we hire nice people. I really I'm someone who is someone who believes in hiring people and then training for skill. But long ago I learned, I surround myself with supportive people. You cannot go to work or even family or you feel I am not supported, and I make sure that I feel supported at work.
Yeah,
so a lot of information there. Sorry, I was jumping around a little bit.
No, I love it. That's huge. And I think that, it shows, like you said, you're leading by example. You also take that ownership mentality, right? So that mindset of ownership versus victim, like, well, my practice stinks, but I'm not doing the things I need to do. Like, you set that bar to where folks are like, hey, well, he's doing it. He's, representing. And I think that just adds to that culture that you've built. So you're doing something right on that.
Thank you.
Is there something like, and I'll just say, just from personal experience, right? Going to different dentists and orthodontists and different doctors over the years, I really feel, and this isn't just fluff to you, but you are just so unique in how you've built this. Is there anything that you're doing as a leader that just in your head is like something everybody should do, but maybe they're not doing it if they're practicing or if they're just running a business?
We're very, we're an office that is not financially focused. So we are very financially successful because we are not financially focused. And I think what happens is when people chase money, when people become purely it is apparent to everyone. And I think if you just get in the business of taking care of people, everything kind of works out. Now, people always say listen, every day I get 10 orthodontists from all over the world asking me about how to run their practice. And I'll tell them, we have built our practice by being very generous and by not being business. And then they'll say, well, you can do that because you're successful. I'm like, you don't understand. We have momentum. Like we have incredible momentum where when I say, how did you hear about us? The only response I want to hear from the family in the consultation is, how could we not hear about you? Right. So we are looking for that. It doesn't mean we do things perfectly, but we're very hard on ourselves. We don't nickel and dime people. I'm very aware of how much things cost. And if I can save people that kind of money, and I don't know. I don't think there's anything magic. People always ask me about like marketing. They're like, how do you market? I go, man, you just be you. Like you got to be you. Like that marketing is very. So it's the same way of kind of practicing. We're just kind of ourselves. It's very genuine. It's very real. That is who I am. And I think honestly, if you're at a place, for example, that is maybe a little disingenuous or financially focused or inappropriate, it's apparent. You can feel the vibe in the room and you can say, this is kind of just not for me. So there are no real secrets to this. It's all the same. Be yourself, go at it 1,000%. And we have just kind of built our practice the old fashioned way of just kind of taking good care of people, not worrying about money. We're very focused on our reputation, very focused on, I always say, don't park that car. We want a lot of momentum and we just keep the momentum going.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, that momentum and that reputation that you've built, I mean, you are known, and it's no secret on, Facebook groups or different chats that are happening on social media or whatever, saying, who's a good orthodontist, or I have this issue, what happens? You are always the first to chime in and offer support. You've even shown up in the middle of the night, I've heard, to help some people that are in pain or struggling with something. I mean, that drive is amazing. How do you commit to serve at that level? Because that really is like, you're like a superhero. Well, the practice is just, but you do it with your work, right? You're being very humble right now, but you do this with your work. And I know everyone who's listening is doing it with their job. We're all doing it in our own, and for those who are, people are at home they do it with, and everyone's doing it in their own respect. And this is just what it takes. But that is kind of our practice. That is just kind of that example, maybe responding to a text at 2 a.m. So let's go over a perfect example here. So let's say you have an anxious patient, anxious for any number of reasons, but let's just say it is their first child in treatment, or they have a lot of dental anxiety from maybe when they were a child. Who knows why they're anxious? Maybe it's the money, whatever reason, they're very anxious. And they're sending you a lot of texts or emails. I give out my cell phone, but let's say it's emails. The classic response is, I am not going to respond for a few days so I can train this person how they should be emailing me. So the classic response is, I'm going to respond in a way that trains them how to behave. I don't do that. That's not what I respond if they email me at 2 a.m., I'll email them. I'll wake up, I get the buzz. I'll email them at 2:01. Everything's going to be fine. This is what we're going to do. I'll see you first thing in the morning. We got this. My favorite line to say, by the way, is like, when you're dealing with someone who's got a little anxiety, it's even great to say to even a spouse is like, I got this. Like, we got this. Like, we're going to take care of this. But we respond right away. And that's just kind of how we do everything. So that, everything counts. So it's the same way we are at 2 a.m. is the same way we are at work. It's the same way we are with any type of clinical decision. It's just kind of how we act. And I don't really know what to say other than this. This is just, we do this every second of the day. Yeah. I love that. I love that. Well, we talked about your practice. Want to talk about Dr. Kravitz himself. Like, so beyond all the titles and the professional identity, because and we'll go into it a little bit more, but I know like you are very big in your industry, and you do talks and conferences and speak and keynote speakers and everything. But who is Dr. Kravitz at the core?
Yeah, I just am someone just trying to kind of get better. I think, I talk a lot when I talk to orthodontists about like self-reflection and trying, to get better. And one of my favorite authors has this great line she says it's important not to ruminate over the past, which I think is so true. Don't beat yourself up over past mistakes. But I am someone who's very self-reflective, very hard on myself. And a lot of what I lecture on when I talk to doctors is like, hey, listen, I only know this now, or I'm glad you like this lecture, but let me tell you about all the struggles that I had to get there. And if someone emails me throughout the day, how do I do this case? And I respond in 30 seconds and this is how to do it. And they go, well, how do you know how to do it? Well, but I've also had years of struggling through that. You know what I mean? And so I think whether it's being a dad or an orthodontist or a business owner or the jiu-jitsu mat, whatever, we're just trying to get better. And I think really that like progress is fun. The journey of progress is fun. And it is really special to say, listen, man, I am a better man than I was a few years ago. I'm a better doctor than I was a few years ago. Definitely a better dad. And I think if we keep doing that, we're less hard on ourselves from past mistakes. And so just this idea of let's just try to get a little bit better, a little bit of progress. And that's what I'm always seeking.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly what we're here all about. Right. Like, and I think, I always say this, but our future self is praying and hoping that we are doing the things today to be better 5 years, 10 years from now. Right. It's so important, not just cognitively to be able to just keep growing and learning and pushing it, but there's a lot of folks that do seem stuck and sometimes it's just doing one thing. And little wins, stack those wins, get some momentum and keep going.
I love that comment one thing. So I have this personal trainer that I adore. He's a patient of mine, but I see him once a week and he comes to the office. We go in the parking lot. He has that line. He says, do one thing. So like, for example, like let's say your diet falls apart and you're just really, you put on weight, you're kind of in a funk, or it could be anything, right? It could be, it could be just getting back into working out. But he has this great line, and he talks about this with food, but he'll say, just do one thing. I'll give you a list of things that I want you to do, but just do one. Get a little inertia, right? Get a little momentum, start, just get it. And then all of a sudden everything. So a perfect example in terms of what he would talk about, right? He would talk about, maybe you don't put the cream in your coffee. Maybe you start drinking black coffee like that. So whatever it is, or maybe you wake up and you go for a 3-mile run. It doesn't have to be a 5-mile run or whatever. That one thing, I'm a huge believer of that. And then all of a sudden the tasks don't seem so daunting. Yeah. Huge believer of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think too, like, when you get those little wins mentally, like you get that confidence now. And then, like you said, it's not so hard. And then you're like, well, man, I kind of want to push myself more and beat my own little personal record. Maybe I can only do half a mile to begin with, and then I can do a mile. And like, I think that's kind of exciting when you see folks be able to overcome those mental obstacles or mindsets that limit them and really take ownership and really try to get into that growth mode. Cause I think it serves so well, and it allows you to be the best version of yourself for your family and your friends and your community. And I think that's so huge.
Yeah. This idea of like fear and like paralysis of anything. I mean, I always think about it with so many times. I'll get phone calls again from orthodontists and I'll give them advice. I'll say, listen, and the ability to even do anything different is so challenging to them. And I go, man, don't be that way. Just like, so just start doing it. Just start moving. Don't worry. No one's judging you. No one's looking at you. Just start judging. I'm one of those people, like if I see someone awkward in the gym, I love it, man. They're doing it. They're giving it a shot. I'm all for, like, I love that. I love people who are just going for it. And you'll figure it out. You'll figure it out if you just keep at it.
Yep. 100%. Well, and your schedule's super demanding, and all the things that you do. How do you protect your energy And I don't even know if burnout would be an option for you, but how do you avoid that? Because you operate at such a high level. And I know some of it might just be your chemical inside, but.
I mean, I actually really got burnt out my first year of dental school. I really almost, I would actually say it was depression almost. I think I would say if I was a woman, they would have, and I'm not someone who has that, I'm not, I mean, what I mean by that is like, I think sometimes for guys, they don't quite look at it that way, but I really was like, just put so much pressure on myself. And I have this line that I use when I see politicians or athletes get into trouble by making really bad decisions. I always say chronic stress, so stress is interesting. I talk to kids about this who are in the office when they have jaw pain, but I say stress like makes us successful. Stress got me up at 3 a.m. to work on a paper that I have to publish. But if I don't control the stress, it actually it breaks my body down. And then when you're an adult, you really learn like this ability of like, okay, you know what? I am past a threshold right now. I need to go lie down, or I need to take a bath, or I need to go work out, or I need to, whatever you need to do. But as a kid, you don't really do that. You kind of go back onto social media, which makes it worse. And I think when I was younger in dental school, that chronic stress kind of broke me down a little bit. So I think, for me, I am very aware stress is like a currency for me. I think when I get stressed, I probably don't eat well. I probably, I'm just not as productive. So what I do is I make decisions based on controlling my stress. Now I'm very good under stress. I know that about me. I know that like when if the house is on fire, I will respond appropriately. But I will tell you that I'm very aware of how I'm feeling throughout the day. And there are times where I will say, I need to go to my car for a 10-minute nap. I need to reprogram, and I will make decisions based on stress. So I am okay losing money, for example, if it is something that reduces stress. And I'll give a perfect example that applies to that. But I would rather, if we are going on a family vacation, spend money on really nice, plane tickets or maybe a nicer place to stay than maybe where I go out to eat or something. If I had a budget, for example, to me, the thing that reduces the stress is what makes the traveling easier. You know what I mean? So I'm always trying to make decisions that reduce stress. And when I talk about having people in my life, I tell staff, this is an interesting thing for your team. I tell people they are not paid on their skill. They are paid on their ability to reduce my stress. And if you have someone who's very skilled but adds drama and stress, they have no value. So it's like they're like the star receiver on the football team. Yeah, they're great, but they cause problems in the locker room, and we will not miss you when you leave. So we want low drama, low stress people. High skill, that people that cause high stress have no value to me, because I have to be good when I get home, and home life is stressful. So I can't be stressed out from work. I have to control all of that stuff. So that's my 2 cents on that. So stress is my currency. So that is my,
Yeah, I love that. I mean, that it shows, and to be able to perform like that, and that self-care is super important, right? So like you're self-aware to know like, hey, I need this, and to be the best version of myself. Like you said, 10-minute nap in the car, just a power nap to get refreshed and do whatever, or step outside, get some fresh air, sunshine,
My wife's very good at it. I'll tell you, there are times when the though we are very busy, orthodontics is not stressful. I'm not dealing with, think of like all the incredible things that physicians have to deal with. I am very fortunate not to have to deal with that. But it is a lot of patients in a day and a lot of customer service. And it's like really, it's really kind of and there are times when I will go home and I have a long commute, and I will tell my wife, listen, I'm going right to bed, and I have to go right to bed, and I'm not a good anybody for the family at that moment. But I'm going to be the first one to wake up at 3 a.m. and clean the house and try to make up for that. So, we all have to kind of do that. And hopefully people understand that I get it. And I'll tell you, I'll have staff members, I can see it in their face. I'm like, no, like stay on the clock. go home and sleep for a few hours and come back. I've been there, like we've all been there.
Yeah.
So you have to, and my team, I'm very aware. I don't want people who abuse it. I don't want people but I definitely try to make sure I'm taking care of them emotionally too.
Yeah, that is so important. I mean, you take care of the people and they're going to continue to take care of you, and they're going to be loyal and respect you. And just that compassion and understanding for your staff is so huge, I think, in being productive and successful. And so kudos to you for that. Because you do that self-care, do you have any like particular personal habits or disciplines that you do? Like, your schedule's kind of crazy and I know you travel a lot.
So I work out twice a day, sometimes 3 times a day. I have modified my schedule to allow me to work out. So at lunch and then after work, definitely. Nice. And if I can get something in, so I try to work out a lot. I do. They're not always like high intensity workouts. Like, I would say maybe one of the workouts are a little bit, but some of them, and some workouts are just like, I'm there. I've had private sessions, like with either a strength coach or a jujitsu instructor, where we're talking a lot, or we're stretching, or we're kind of I'm taking a class, but I'm not physically able to do much, and we're kind of stretching, or we're just doing other stuff, and that's all good. I'm a huge believer of a hot bath. I'm a huge believer of stuff like that. So I think anything you do that can decompress you, I'm all for. I probably am on my phone too much. I think everybody probably is, to be honest with you. I don't watch much of any TV other than sports. I think wherever I can, I try to make time to work out, and that is my treat to myself.
Yeah, that's good. That's huge. Well, and part of this, you mentioned it, you've started training in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, right? Something that's physically intense and mentally humbling, I think. What drew you to that practice, and what has it kind of taught you about yourself?
So I love it. So I'm at 2 main schools. There is a philosophy of maybe not cross training, not going to 2 different schools, but I think that mentality has relaxed a little bit. And I go to 2 schools that are very different. I do have one is more about movement. Think of it almost like a dance, kind of teaching you how to move. And the other one is more about competition. And I get some great things from both of them. I love them so much, both the places. So I started in college, and then I took a long break, long break. And I just found this place. I had gone to some places that were good, but maybe weren't exactly a good fit. And then I found places that were like a perfect fit for me. And there is a saying, and only people who do this may understand, that they say jiu-jitsu is life. And what they mean by that is the lessons that you learn, how to deal with pressure, how to overcome whatever obstacle, how to make things happen by not using more strength, but maybe changing your direction a little bit. Right. Endless analogies you can make. But this idea that what we're teaching you is not grappling. We're teaching you how to deal with problems. And that's why I think people like it. There's definitely an aspect of that's primitive that people like, and it's there, and I like that too. But I think for me, there's so much more to it, and I really do apply a lot of the lessons that I'm learning. I'm sure you could probably equate it to many martial arts, but into what I do in private practice.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know you did it in college, started out at it, but working with 2 different schools, is there anything that surprised you once you stepped on the mat? Like you were like, oh, I don't remember this, or...
Yeah. So every school. So just like imagine like playing on 2 different teams. Like imagine having a child who plays basketball for one team and then basketball for another team. There could be totally different coaches and coaching styles. So I guess my primary school is all about how you move and connect with people and how your body should be moving. And then this other school is like it's a little bit more intense. I've done a few competitions, and it prepares me for that. And how to deal with real pressure and weight and discomfort and deep cardio. So I've enjoyed both. And they're very different schools, but they fit a place in my life.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's good. And you've done some competitions now, right? So you've actually got
average. I've had some mild, some good days, a lot of bad days. But it's really interesting. I thought competing, because I never wrestled or done any like one-on-one competition, even though I was a college place kicker, that's a different type of stress. So I right now could walk into a stadium and feel very confident kicking a field goal. I still can do it very well. And when I train kids, I still feel good doing that. But going into really, which is like a college gym, they're all done at colleges, and it's really kind of like a wrestling setup, and you're in this kind of environment. I thought it was going to be about fear. Could I overcome the fear of having to go up against someone? And I'm always going against younger and heavier people. It really isn't about fear, but what does happen is your body responds poorly under pressure. You get something called adrenaline dumps, where you almost go into a paralysis. So the first 4 or 5, I don't want to call them fights because it's not like that, but it's matches. You're almost paralyzed, and it's very hard. Like your heart is racing. You feel like I'm going to have a heart attack. And then it got to a point where I said, God, if I was ever in a dangerous situation and I had to defend myself, I need to learn not to panic the way I'm panicking. And I don't want to call it panic, but your body does not respond to stress unless you prepare it for it. So I'm really enjoying these types of challenges. I am not great at it, but I do feel that I'm getting better at it. And it is an interesting challenge. I'm getting smashed by another grown man. And I'm like, do you know who I am? I'm not saying that, but in my mind, I'm saying that. I'm like, oh my God, my wife's gonna be so pissed. My face is getting destroyed. But it is a challenge, and it is for me, because it really is not my nature to. I can see some people that I'm going up against. They have a little bit of a rough nature to them. That's not my nature, and I have to kind of learn to be okay dealing with it and not take it so emotionally when someone is being very aggressive. So there's some lessons there that have nothing to do with jiu-jitsu, but have a lot to do with life that I'm enjoying learning, and I'm getting a little bit better at it.
Well, I have to ask, do you wear a mouthpiece?
Oh yeah, man! I get so upset when people don't wear mouthpieces.
I was going to say,
and I treat everybody. So I see all my patients at these matches who get so upset when their orthodontist is getting smashed. They're like, I can hear them crying. I'm like, you're not helping. You're not. None of that is helping me. Like I actually go out of state because it doesn't help me when I hear my patients like. The lamentations of the women, right? But yeah, I get really upset with people. I tell everyone to wear mouthpieces. I'll make it for you. Just got to wear it.
Good. Yes, that's super important. We got to keep those smiles going, right?
Yeah.
So we talked about that a little bit. I want to kind of just touch into, I know you're editor-in-chief. You also are a lecturer at Harvard. Like these expectations placed on you, I mean, professionally, personally, academically. How do you juggle that schedule? Like I know you're on the road a lot.
It's tough. I mean, I think I had to say this. It's hard. It's really hard on my wife, right? Because she does not like the traveling. So I'm getting better at saying no. And doesn't mean I don't. So I love being a journal editor, right? I love that. And I love going to Harvard. So I'm on the faculty there. I love going there and teaching. It's really the faculty at that program are amazing. And I love going up there, and I fly in the morning, I lecture, and then I treat patients with the residents, and then I go home at night.
Wow.
But there's things that I'm getting better at doing, which is for example, I'm asked to speak internationally, every month I'm asked to speak internationally, but I never say yes. And in fact, we did London maybe 2 years ago just because it was our anniversary and Margaret went with me, but it's just too much travel. Even honestly, West Coast travel is hard on me. I can almost go anywhere up and down the East Coast, but once I start changing time zones and losing whole days in travel, it's not worth it. And so I think what I start doing, we talked about stress, but stress and time, these are real currencies, and there's really nothing anybody could pay me to do to go. It's really hard for me to go lecture in Seattle or lecture in California. I don't really have a desire because and there may be a point in my life where I'm using that for vacation. So I think what I'm trying to do is trying to not do things I just don't want to do. And then it's really fun and enjoyable, but nothing is worse than doing a commitment that you just don't really want to be doing. And I think that is awful. It's stressful. Yeah. You're not good at it. You're not going to perform well. So a perfect example is I served on a lot of like leadership committees in our profession. And I thought, for many years, maybe I would want to be the president of the AAO. And I mean that humbly because you'd have to get voted onto it. But like it would be a 20-year journey. I hate meetings. All I would do in meeting. I would be in a meeting every day. For 20 years, I'd be in a meeting. And I don't like meetings. We don't have meetings as an office. I tell people we want decisions to be made quickly and I want to move on from it. I don't want things to be discussed and then discussed again the next time. We make a decision as a team, we move on and we don't talk about it. And I learned that as much as maybe I liked the idea of Neal Kravitz, AAO president, I'm making that up. I don't know if I am someone who wants to be in meetings all day. That is not where I am great. That is not what I like to do. And so that I have made a decision. You know what? That's not for me. I don't want to do that. So I'm trying to get better at saying no more often.
Yeah. Well, that's huge. That's the first step, right? Realizing that you can say that. And then, like you said, and then it makes the ones you do so much more enjoyable because
just do what you want to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, wearing all those hats, you mentioned your lovely wife, you're a husband and a father. I mean, when you're present with the family, how do you stay present with all those other demands? And like you said, there might be patients texting you with a problem or a crisis. How do you stay present with the family?
Yeah, I probably could do it better. I think it is a daily discussion. I tell people my wife would love to throw my phone in the Potomac. It's hard. It's hard. I'm not great at it. It's a constant reminder. And I'll even tell you, like, if it's like on date night, I don't want to bring the phone with me. And Margaret will be like, got to bring your phone with you. I'm like, man, if I have my phone, I'm going to be on my phone. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, I don't even want my phone on me. So I would say that I am not great at it and I'm trying to get better. It is definitely something that is a weakness and not something that I am good at. So it is the downside of it. So I think what does help me is if I can do something that I am participating in. So for example, like sports where I can really like maybe if I can do something with my sons, well, then obviously that's easy. That just solved all the problems right then and there. So I'm trying to do activities that I not just I'm a parent on, but I'm actually a participant in, and then it gets easy to do.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, your kids are still young, but like, having them, what do you hope your kids learn just simply by watching you live your life? Because like you said, your energy, your positivity, your mindset, like, what do you hope they get just from watching you every day?
Yeah, we want strong kids, and it's important for a Jewish family. We want that. We want people who have integrity. We want people who are accountable. We expect great things from them. We expect them, and I always get disappointed when I see a very successful family and the children have done nothing with their lives. And those are usually people who are like wildly successful in making remarkable kinds of, but that's not what we're going to have. We want children who are productive, who are good, hardworking, ethical kids. We want them strong. I use that strength as I really mean that. I think, as a parent, especially if your child looks like you, my middle child, this poor child looks just like me. You marry these women and you hope for recessive genes and you get a kid who looks just like you. I told him to be funny. I said, that's going to be your shtick. That works for me. That's what you got to do. You just got to go for the self-deprecating humor. But I think you really, there are conversations that I have with my children. I say, I acted this way, or I did this stuff, and you cannot do this. You cannot do this. And I have those serious conversations with them. But it's not enough for them to just be kind children. I want them to really, again, be strong, have integrity, be successful, not just financially, but really, we have expectations of them. And I know this sounds kind of silly, and I hope this doesn't come across wrong. I almost want them to have like a higher, more moral value than the people around them. I expect them to make moral decisions that are maybe at a higher level than maybe their peer group.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they might still be too young to recognize some of this, but just knowing how you treat people and how you've made people feel, which is amazing. I think that in itself is going to create some good base for them just to see that, because I think that's so important too. I mean, I feel like, our world's kind of a mess sometimes, and there's a lot of
Sure.
Disparity and problems, but I think just being kind and like you said, I know having a moral compass higher, have them lift the folks up around them, as they grow and stuff, and be the leaders of their peer groups. So I think that's awesome. Let me ask you, when you eventually step back from the profession, what do you hope your lasting contribution will be, both to dentistry and the people you've served?
My father put it to words. He put kind of like a life story together, which was really interesting, and I had a chance to read it. And his comment, and my father's a physician, and his comment was, to have helped and to have made a difference. And I think that's all true. Yeah, I think that's kind of what we're all looking for, as we want positive impacts. I want someone that contributed in a way that helped people in the right way. And I don't think it's anything specific. I want to make sure I am raising kids that are better than me, not making the same mistakes that I made. We all have those moments where, man, we could be doing things better, treating people differently or better. Yeah, we want kids to not have those same hiccups and be better. We are. I don't know if I'm answering this great. I just productive, helpful, contributing, positive people. And if we are making a difference that way, then I think I have an ability. I'll tell you a funny kind of off topic, but like, people will always come to me and say, listen, I can fix your smile or fix this. And I said, there's very few things I can do to help people, but I can do this. So let me do this. If this is an issue that's going on in your life, but even if we're going to waive costs, but I said, there's very few things I can really have an immediate impact. But this, man, I can do this in an hour in my chair, just sit down. And I said, so I said, let me do this. And take that over a lifetime. I think I'll have done well. Yeah.
That's awesome. And that's so true, right? Like, I mean, the work that you do, I mean, I love seeing that you were always good about putting, patients' photos up on the thing and these beautiful smiles and the things that you can do. Those are things that you can do right away and help people, which I think is cool. I also think, you mentoring the young orthodontics and, and teaching to them and lecturing, like you're setting this amazing, pattern for them to learn from you. And so, kudos to you for being able to do that at that level and share with the younger folks, because I think they could only take half of what you did and still be successful, because you're at such a high level. I just think that getting any part of that from you is probably really awesome. Let me ask you, what is, you've got this practice going, you got all these things. Is there something new? What's next? What's in the next 5 years? Kind of like what's going on with the practice or your lecture tour? Kind of where do you see things going?
Yeah, probably just kind of probably the same. We there was times when I thought maybe we were going to open up another practice, and maybe this was about 5 or 7 years ago. But I'm glad I didn't. I'm really glad I didn't, because, at some point, a little bit of more money doesn't add any value to your life. And so I think we're just trying to get better balance, get better control, maybe go to some of my kids' football games. If my son starts kicking a football, I'd love that. So I think what has happened in the last few years is that I have taken a schedule which was really very, very, very busy, and put a little bit more priority on my health. And like I said, I tell people, like, we take a 90-minute lunch, and some days I take a 2-hour lunch, and the 2 hours are just so I can get to the workout class that I have.
Yeah.
I used to work 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., an incredible schedule. We don't, no way. I couldn't even, at 5 o'clock, my body's broken now. So, I mean, I could never do that. So we're just trying to get better at just dealing with all the things that we have to do. I don't think I am trying to do more, but just continue to get better at the things that I'm doing. That would be pretty awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you hear some entrepreneurs or young folks trying to start out, they're like, expansion, we got to scale, we got to do this. But sometimes it's just good to just refine what you're doing and make it so much efficient and so much more, enjoyable.
Yeah, the Starbucks example, they kind of overexpand. So, we live right next to a Starbucks, and but they know, like, our family, and they can close down. But all the Starbucks in DC basically closed. If they don't have a drive-through, they shut them down, and that's a perfect example of a company that kind of overexpanded and is kind of now having to rediscover their roots of kind of what they want to do. And I think there's some real value in saying that people kind of outgrow the culture that they created, and they've kind of built a business that is very different from the one that made them successful. Yeah. So we don't want to do that.
Yeah. No, don't do that, please.
Right. We won't.
If you could, let me ask you this, if you could talk to your younger self at the beginning of this journey, when you first started, is there any wisdom or anything that you would share? And you're probably sharing it with your kids now these days, but, like, is there anything that you would tell younger Neal Kravitz?
Yeah. I mean, it's I think sometimes we forget what's in front of us, right? You're so focused, whether through anxiety or, like, this is what I want to do in my life. We're so focused on this dream or whatever, or maybe it's pressure. I mean, it could be hard to tell whatever that thing in the future is, that you forget about everything that is right in front of you. Now, that is a very easy thing to say, but I mean, I remember family and friends visiting me in dental school, and it was if they weren't even there. Yeah. I needed that day to be over with. I needed that visit to be over with so I can get back to work. And I couldn't explain that. And I when I see, like, kids in my chair and they have that kind of look in their eyes, I pull them aside and talk to them and say, hey, listen, this thing that is more manageable. And I'm always impressed with people who could balance that early. But I would say to my younger self, focus on the thing that's in front of you. I think that would have been a great lesson. And I think everything would have still turned out fine. But I think I missed a lot focusing so far into the future.
Yeah. Yeah. I think all of us in this digital age, being present in just general is hard. But to your point, I think the more quality relationships we have, the conversations we have, the things we can learn from each other really just makes things so much better. And I think if we can be present for anybody at any age, just, try to be with what's right in front of you. Because sometimes we do take it for granted and think, like, oh, I got to, like you said, get to it. I've been there too. I've done the same thing. I'm like, man, I look back, I'm like, why was I such in a hurry to get to the whatever?
No, for no reason. And everything would have been the exact same result. Yeah. Everything would have been, and you wouldn't have had to kind of, like I said, miss what was right there. Yep.
Yeah. 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 Well, we're wrapping this up here, but I just wanted to say, a lot of people, and this is part of the premise for this podcast and the book I wrote was, I know a lot of people are in a place right now where they might feel stuck, whether it's in their career, their health, or their life, just in general. What would you say to someone who just feels stuck and doesn't know how to move forward, no matter what it is?
Yeah, and we talked a little bit about jiu-jitsu, but I want to kind of bring that up because that is a classic feeling, right? If you are pinned under somebody who's really and that happens 20 times a day, right? Yeah. So the rule there is to not explode, right? To not use all of your energy and try to push because it's only going to make you more tired. In fact, the way to get unstuck is, one, you are never stuck. And two, you need to just move a little. So you talked about doing one thing. Well, that's exactly what we teach in class is if somebody is really putting pressure on you, and it doesn't have to be a heavy person. It could be your mortgage payment. It could be a marriage that is going through a difficult spell. It could be anything that you're going through. What you really want to do is, so think of you have this knot. If you just get really frustrated and antsy and just try to rip through it, you're going to make it worse. You're going to get exhausted pushing that heavy person off you. But if you just move a little bit, all of a sudden spaces and openings start to happen and everything becomes a little bit more manageable. I can turn, I can breathe a little bit better. I can create little areas where I can, handle the pressure. So to anybody who's stuck, like you said, do one thing, just move a little. Yeah. And you are never stuck. You just need to generate a little movement. And what happens from just a little bit of off balancing is there's a lot more space to be gained. And I believe in that all the time. And when I am feeling overwhelmed, like you said, I'm just trying to do a little bit. And all of a sudden the day gets managed.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that analogy. That's awesome. Just a little movement, man. Just forward progress in some way. So
a little bit of,
yeah. Well, Dr. Kravitz, I got to tell you, thank you again for being here and just for sharing your journey and your insight with us today. It's always a pleasure to talk with you. And I love watching all the success that you're having and also the legacy you're leaving, not just with the industry itself, but the communities that you serve, man. Like you are really knocking it out of the park. And I am happy to know you. And I'm happy to see all the success you're having.
We are friends, man. I appreciate this. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. And to everyone listening, just keep leaning into your growth, stay intentional with your progress, and remember that big change comes from small, consistent steps. Keep showing up, keep doing the work, and keep making forward progress. And I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for joining me in the Progress Zone. If today's episode gave you a spark, share it with a friend, subscribe, or leave a quick review. And remember, progress isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up. I'm Jody Donaldson, and I'll catch you next time inside the Progress Zone.